We'll be sampling more at the tail end of the program. And now, I talked about Andy Murray. I was told it's pronounced as Murray. And of course, he's a top tennis star, a Wimbledon champion, US Open champion, and a two-time Olympic champion, winning gold in 2012 in London as well as in Rio de Janeiro 2016. His mother, Dr. Judith Murray, also a tennis coach, was in town for clinics, and we had engagement with her. Take a look at that engagement. This is Sporty Monday Quickfire segment, and today we are out on the road. We are at Sadili Oval in Langata, Nairobi, where today we have the distinct honor and pleasure of talking to none other than a top tennis coach, none other than Dr. Judith Murray, mother to tennis star Andrew Murray, who is speaking to us here on Sporty Monday. Daktari, quite a pleasure having you on board. Welcome to the program, and thanks for making time to speak to us.
Thanks for having me.
Let's go right into it. You are here in Nairobi in Langata, and you've had a long day session with the youngsters and of course other tennis coaches. How did that go?
It's been really good fun. Obviously I didn't know anybody before I got here, so I didn't know what to expect in terms of numbers or ages or levels, but everybody's been very, very welcoming, and the coaches, who are arguably the most important ones for me to potentially influence by sharing lots of ideas and content and coaching philosophy with, have been incredibly receptive and appreciative, I think, of having somebody different to listen to.
Tennis requires a lot of investment, a lot of support, and of course you can't take away the role facilities play in ensuring that these youngsters accomplish or realize their talents. And as experienced coach who's nurtured tennis stars, how does that turn out?
It's not just the facilities. I think it is access to like-minded sparring partners, variety of people to train with and against, and also to be able to access coaches who have a track record in producing players at the top end of the game. You know, the knowledge obviously and the passion and the commitment to be able to do that, because nobody ever gets to the top of anything on their own. So yeah, I think the facilities definitely are one thing, but I think access to coaches who can help you, and fitness trainers and physios who are tennis specific is another thing. I don't know enough about Kenyan tennis to know where your starting point is, but if I came back here to Sadili Oval in 10 years' time and I found lots of great little players on the court doing great things in competitions, and that they had been inspired by the workforce that I had shared lots of ideas with, and I saw maybe some of those ideas still being put into practice, that would make me very happy.
Let's talk about Andrew Murray. He's gone on to become a global phenomenon. Of course, right now he's retired, but look at his record. He's won 3 Grand Slam titles, 2 Wimbledon, 2013 and 2016. He's also won the US Open in 2012, as well as gold in the Olympics in the singles. That is 2012 and 2016. That is no mean feat, Dr. Judith. Probably shed more light on what it takes actually to raise a tennis star.
Well, obviously I'm really proud of Andy and of his brother Jamie. Jamie made world #1 in doubles in 2016, which was the same year that Andy was world #1 in singles. So really coming from a small country where tennis is a minority sport, and kind of managing the journey with nobody to learn from, because nobody had ever done it before,
sure.
was challenging, and it's hugely expensive as well, because when you outgrow the competition in your own area or your own country and you have to travel overseas, you're responsible of course for all your own costs, and in junior tennis there is no prize money, so you need good funding, good backing behind you to make all that happen. And that's the same whichever country you come from, because until you actually get on the men's or women's tour and are winning consistently, you're having to spend an awful lot of money without there being very much in the way of return. So that is a challenge in itself as well, to keep yourself going on the circuit. I think the thing I'm most proud of is the young men that they have become. You know, they're humble and polite. They've never forgotten their roots or where they come from. They have good values. They give back to the game. They both have kids now. they're just genuinely good people, and because they've never forgotten where they came from, I think it's very easy to have your head turned when you live in the environment that they've been living in, in the very top end of a global sport like tennis. And they just, as people, they just haven't changed at all, and that is probably the thing that makes me most proud. But I think watching them playing together in the Davis Cup in 2015 in Glasgow,
yes.
Where we had a sellout crowd, 9,000 people, yes. And Andy won the 2 singles and Jamie and Andy won the doubles, which gave us 3 against Australia to go through to the final against Belgium. And watching them win the final, it was the same. Andy won 2 singles, Jamie and Andy won the doubles. It was like, it just showed you how far we had all come. But being in Glasgow and seeing world-class tennis in Glasgow with Scottish players, and actually a Scottish coach who I had developed, started with me when he was 20. He was the Davis Cup captain and still is, actually. So watching him leading the boys out and hearing that crowd, because when I was Scottish number one man and his dog would watch the final of Scottish tennis tournaments, and you'd have one line in the results section of the newspaper, and for about 15 years we've had front and back pages, and it's built an enormous fan base for the sport across the country, and that is something to be very proud of as well.
Absolutely. Tell us, probably, balancing between motherhood and being a coach, because you have to take care of their sons, at the same time you have to ensure you nurture their talents so that they realize their goals. And going through the career of Andy, I realized he left home quite early, that's Scotland, going overseas just to grow his talent.
Yeah, of course you have to get to a stage where you have to let your kids go and follow their dream if you can afford to do so, if you can find the right path for them, and finding the right training environment in another country that gives you the pastoral care as well as the tennis, and also the care of the body, which obviously if your body doesn't work, you don't work in tennis. The fitness becomes very much more important as you get through your teenage years. So managing the life and business of a junior player and then moving into managing the life and business of someone on the tour are very different things. There were many things that I had to learn out of necessity because there was nobody else to do them, or we couldn't afford to pay somebody to do them. So, things like doing all the accounting, all the budgeting, all the logistics. I learned how to do tax returns in 4 different countries. You have to learn how to do all of that. And I learned how to do massage so that I could do the rub downs after the match, because it was very difficult to find, certainly on the junior circuit or the first rungs of the men's circuit, physios who could do that. And even if you did find them, you were, back then paying something like €25 for a 45-minute rub down, which I thought that looks quite easy. I could do that. So I went and did a massage course to learn how to do that. So there were lots of things that I learned. I think the hardest thing is finding the finances to make it all work. And the second hardest thing, I think, once they become successful, is learning how to handle the media, and social media probably as well. I think they play a huge part in sponsorship and how you develop your own profile and I suppose in time your legacy and your fan base. So there's an awful lot to learn that goes beyond hitting forehands and backhands.
Dr. Judith, you've gone through this. You've literally walked through this, nurturing boys, 2 sons, and making them become idols actually in the tennis court. What kind of advice would you give to that young Kenyan tennis player who is watching the program now and probably would want to be a tennis star in the future?
Yeah, I think finding somebody who's been there and done it, who can share their experiences and help you from making bad decisions or going the wrong way. I think that all Olympic federations within each country, like the British Olympic Association for us, the Lawn Tennis Association, which is our tennis federation, I think that they all need to play a much bigger part in preparing young athletes for being in the public eye, for becoming successful. Even if they don't make it, I think you need to equip them with those life and business skills that help you to survive, because the junior tour is very much a comfort zone, and as soon as you go into the men's or women's tour, to the first rungs of it, you're playing people who are playing for their mortgages or their kids or their cars or their next meal ticket, and it's very dog eat dog, and really only the toughest survive. So actually having having people who can help you to prepare for what's ahead of you. And it's not just preparing the athlete, I think it's preparing the athlete's family as well, because suddenly you become in the public eye as well, whether you like it or not.
Yes.
And it's not an easy place to be.
Well, today you've spent time in Langata, Nairobi, just talking to upcoming players and also imparting skills to coaches. Probably 10 years from now, Dr. Judith, where would you want to see Kenyan tennis 10 years from now?
Well, I've been coaching for probably about 35 years. I started as a volunteer at my local tennis club, just like a lot of the people who came along today. And I was just doing a couple of hours a week when my children were very, very small to keep me active. And I wasn't a tennis coach. I had been the Scottish #1 for a number of years, so I played the game well and I understood how to play the game. You know, I was good tactically and I was a good athlete. So I knew enough about it to work with some of the teenagers, and it kind of grew from there. And I did some qualifications, I did some more qualifications. I ended up being the national coach in Scotland for 10 years, Great Britain's Federation Cup captain, and obviously learned a lot from working with my own children through all of their formative years and their first years on the men's tour. So Jamie plays doubles, Andy plays singles. I've learned lots, and I learned lots about the women's side of the game when I was the Fed Cup captain. So I have quite a broad base of experience across lots of different parts of tennis. Nowadays, I do some work for the WTA, which is the Women's Tennis Association, and I lead on their community engagement. So they take me to some of the major events worldwide where the top players are. And you know, when you've got a big event with the world's best playing, 100% you should use that to grow the game in the areas around where the tournament is. So I do a lot of coach workshops, parent workshops, teacher workshops, Special Olympics, and lots of clinics for kids. So I'm just always really happy to share the experiences that I've had, because I think that when I was learning how to coach, there was nobody for me to learn from in Scotland, and I always wished there had been. But I think that, you know, we had to learn every step of the way as we went along, and of course we got advice from different people when we were on the road. Of course we do, and you have to evaluate whether that is good advice or whether that's not good advice, and everybody is different. Nobody's path is the same as someone else's. You have to find your own way. But I think that has a lot to do with why I'm so keen to share everything that I've learned with actually anybody who really wants to learn, and we had a lot of really, really receptive, enthusiastic coaches here today.
Of course, Andy's a big star in Kenya, as I said, and of course he's got a lot of fans in this part of the world. Now that he's retired, how does he spend his time? What does he do away from the court?
Well, he has 4 children, so now that he's retired, he says he wants to become a scratch golfer, and he's going to spend a lot more time with his kids. But yeah, I think he's just going to take a bit of time to decide what he wants to do next. But whatever he does, he'll do it to the absolute best of his ability. I'm absolutely no doubt about that.
And of course, that has been Dr. Judith Mary Murray, tennis head coach or tennis coach with a long stint on the tennis, and she's also the mother to Andrew Baron Murray. That's a top tennis player who just retired earlier this month, speaking to us here on Sporty Monday Quickfire segment. And of course, today we are at Sadili Oval in Langata, Nairobi. We thank you for making time to speak to us. And of course, that has been Quickfire segment out on the road. As you've heard, we've been speaking to Judith Mary Murray, that is a tennis coach and also the mother to none other than Andy Murray, making time to grace Sporty Monday on Citizen TV. And of course, we take time to thank her and wish her well. Stay tuned. Sporty Monday continues after the break. And of course, that's